All right. Good evening. Welcome to the May 26th regular meeting. Yeah, 27th? 27th. Okay, everyone. It was 26th when I wrote this. 27th board meeting for the Wenatchee School District. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Almost lost the chair. All right. Esta junta se lleva a cabo en inglés, pero contamos con servicio de traducción. Si alguien gusta hacer un comentario público o recibir explicaciones en español, por favor indique su necesidad. We'll now work through the agenda. Board, are there any proposed changes or modifications to the agenda? All right, hearing none. I will move on with the consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda were sent to the board and posted online last week. The board has had the opportunity to review the materials and ask the superintendent any questions they have about items on the consent agenda. The consent agenda for this meeting includes minutes for the 5/13/25 regular meeting and the 5/19/25 board workshop, vouchers and payroll, personnel report, surplus report, contracts, field trips, and the May enrollment report. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All right. It's been moved by Julie and seconded by Maria. Any discussion? All right. All in favor of adopting the consent agenda as presented, say aye. Aye. None opposed. Motion carries. Citizen comment? No citizen comment. We will cruise past that to Corey for special presentations.
Let's do this. Excellent. We're starting off with our ASB report. The second board meeting of the month includes our ASB reports from our schools. This will probably be the last one of this school year, the 24-25 school year. So I see Layla's here from Westside. Layla, you want to hit it? All right. Thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
Hi, it's nice to see you guys again. My name is Layla, and I'm co-president of our leadership club at Westside. I wasn't here last month, so I'm here to update you on what happened 2 months ago, since that 2-month period. So we had Sheena Town on April 24th. It was a really good event. Both NCW Life and the Wenatchee World featured video articles on our event on their social media pages. Thank you to Consumer Jungle, Luke Evans, and all of the many community volunteers and businesses who helped our students learn what adulting is really like on a budget. We will be making this an annual event now. Keep an eye out for the featured video that should soon be on Consumer Jungle's website. Our prom was held May 9th, and it was a disco decades theme. Big shout out to JC Rice Entertainment, who has been donating their DJ services for the past 3 years, and a huge thanks to Sage Hills for paying for our dinner at our disco dancers via Toolbox food truck. Sage Hills paid $500 so our students could eat for free that night. Prom is always a free event for our students, and we appreciate Sage Hills so much. Leadership's Club Spaghetti Feed was on May 15th for Elliot Babcock. We brought in over $7,000 for her family to help offset treatment costs. The dinner was really good. Our silent auction baskets were overflowing, and the live art auction was a really big hit. A huge thank you to the students and the staff for their hard work on the event, and a bigger thanks to our community who donated so many amazing items. Let me take my breath. Last Thursday, May 22nd, we held our spring open house for our returning and incoming students for this next year. The theme was Carnival. After a presentation about the inner workings of Westside, they set out to play various games, earn tickets, and claim prizes. Big thanks to Jessica Delgado and the community schools for putting on this event. Westside's graduation is Tuesday, June 10th at 7 p.m. at the Town Toyota Center. Doors will open at 6. Thank you to the school board superintendent Kalahar for handing out diplomas. It is such a special night, and we're grateful for your support. That's the end of our update. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Just one question. Do you know, Layla, how much was raised at the silent auction spaghetti feed?
So it says we brought in over 7,000. I'm not too sure if that counts the live art auction. I know that a lot of those pieces went for a lot of. Yeah, you were betting on one. I remember you bet quite a bit on one of those pieces.
Guilty.
Yeah, no, I did too.
And I walked away with some great artwork. Yeah, it's fantastic.
but I know that
Okay,
we did
over
bring in
7,000.
quite a bit.
That's wonderful. Great to hear that. Thanks for sharing, Leila.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome. We do have students from Wenatchee High School, but I don't think we have any ASB representatives that are prepared to share tonight. Nope. Okay. Well, let's move on to what might be the main event for many of the folks in our audience. We have Amelia McAllister here tonight, and we're very excited. She is one of the original founding members of the Superintendent's Advisory Council and has been involved in the past 4 years. As this is her senior year, she's completing a directed study on the topic of dual language programs. And as part of the requirement for the directed study course, she has to present to an audience. And we're fortunate enough that she chose the school board. So thank you for allowing us to be part of your journey tonight, Amelia. And Liz is going to pull up your presentation and you can hit the podium. And thanks for family members and supporters for being here. We appreciate that.
All right, so hello, my name is Amelia McAllister, and I'm very excited to present to you today. This year, as a graduating senior, I decided to enroll in the Directed Study program. Directed Study is an option at the high school where you come up with a topic of your choice, make an academic plan, and study it by yourself throughout the year. I decided to study one of my favorite topics, language acquisition. By way of background, my freshman year, I took 1 semester of Spanish. I am also a heritage speaker of German, and I earned a seal of biliteracy in German and English my sophomore year. Then, my junior year, I took a class that changed my plans. Weightlifting. One day, my friends weren't in class. So rather than sit by myself in a corner, I teamed up with a group of kids I hadn't met before. It was difficult at first. They didn't speak much English, and I didn't speak much Spanish, but we communicated anyway. A little Spanish here, a little English there, and this is where my story of Spanish acquisition began. I started rapidly acquiring the language. Although I knew little to nothing about verb conjugations, I quickly learned all of the more important words like tengo sueño, I'm tired, and mi novio, my boyfriend. As we learned a little bit more about each other, they began to ask me questions about English. ¿Cómo se dice? How do you say this? And eventually, the school year came to an end much too fast. This experience was very fulfilling, and I wanted to continue it, so I devised a plan. I would join the English language development class, or what we call La Clase de Escobedo, and call it a directed study. And as a bonus, I would prove to myself that this immersive method of language learning actually worked. As I told my plan to some teachers and faculty, I was met with suspicion, such as, you, Amelia, you really shouldn't do that. These kids won't accept you. You'll be hurt. And many of them looked at me like I was just a little crazy. This type of response scared me, but I did it anyway, one of the more smartest things I've ever done. Oh, sorry, I forgot to change the slide, but this just basically defines that. So I joined the class, and my plan was simple. First, I participated. I almost always spoke English because it is an English class. We did presentations and projects all in English. I did most of the activities just like I was another student in the class. And it was really fulfilling to see my classmates get better and better at this language. I also listened. I listened to my friends talk, I listened to people give instructions, and in my free time, I listened to a lot of Spanish music. Every day, I was understanding un poco más de español. And so, by the end of January, I took the stamp test for Spanish. I may as well see how much I knew. Now, in order to obtain a seal of biliteracy, you have to get a score of 5 or better on reading, writing, speaking, and listening. So, with 1 semester of high school Spanish back in freshman year, and about 9 months of immersive learning, I obtained these scores. So reading 7, listening 6, 5, and 6. All right. So from this experience, I learned, and now, a few months later, now that the school year is coming to a close, I'm learning Spanish a little less rapidly than I was before because my friends now speak much better English. Now, from this experience, I learned two things. Number one, you don't have to be the same to be accepted. The way some people believed that I couldn't be accepted in this class because I looked different and grew up speaking different languages than they did was difficult. But this poster hanging proudly in that classroom is closer to the reality that I saw when walking into class every single day. Diversity is defining individuals valuing each other regardless of skin, intellect, talents, or years. I hope that my experience holds some tangible proof that when we see each other beyond linguistic and cultural barriers, many good things can happen. Secondly, communication comes from connection. A child doesn't connect to their parents because they can communicate with them. They learn the language of their parents because they connect with them. Similarly, if we foster connection and encourage opportunities for native speakers of both languages to genuinely engage with each other, language acquisition can more naturally follow. This is one of my favorite quotes: "A foreign accent is a sign of bravery." So before I close, there is one specific problem that I would like to address that's just kind of generally about especially the general education classes like art, PE, and science. Often teachers, in the name of inclusion, regularly choose to pre-translate worksheets, Google Translate, or begin to speak Spanish, the Spanish that they want to practice, rather than allowing kids to learn English naturally in the classroom. Now, I'm not saying that there's no place for these things. While it is a good temporary fix for comprehension, two unintended problems occur here. One is that in an environment like this, students learning English miss out on an immersive opportunity. Especially today, being able to speak English well is not only beneficial economically, it is also a source of protection. And it is much preferable to struggle and make mistakes in the language in a safe educational atmosphere where teachers generally care about you. Second is that when general educational teachers, whose job is not to speak Spanish, group non-native English speakers together and speak only Spanish to them, it sends a clear message to the other kids in the class that these people can only be spoken to in Spanish, building unintentional barriers. I truly believe that un acento extranjero es una señal de valentía. I am very grateful for my teachers and the students in my class who taught me so much. When we build connections between people rather than building barriers, we learn from each other, build a much more supportive community, and in this case, enhance language skills. So thank you. If there are any questions. Yeah.
Who is your favorite Spanish music artist?
Oh, I think Sebastian Yatra.
Ah. And then I want to thank you for pointing out the two areas of improvements, especially with grouping. I'll
Mhm.
call it grouping because that's how I see it.
Yeah.
And I think the intention is there's good intentions behind it, but looking from the outside in, grouping is not the ideal way to go about. So thank you for pointing that out.
I'm just gonna say that's a super impressive story, and I'm really proud of you for doing it. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I'll just add, I love the lead in, the story about with weightlifting. So that was great, kind of caught us off guard and we're like, oh, wow, we need to hear more. Amelia, I've always been impressed by you and very proud of your journey, and I've been honored to be part of that. So I'm very excited. So if you don't mind staying there, I'd like to give you your graduation stole tonight here at the board meeting, so you have it for next week. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Did you go through about a dual language program at Lewis and Clark at all?
Nothing.
No. Well, I think so. Oddly, I was having this conversation with my neighbor yesterday, whose grandchildren live in China,
Mhm.
but I was explaining that just the different levels of bilingualism. You might not be able to speak it, but you understand it. That's very, very courageous. And oftentimes it's into the adulthood stage where you realize how beneficial a dual language, being dual, speaking more than one language. And oftentimes there's the fears, right? It's too late for me to learn a second language. So kudos to you for taking that initiative before your adult real world experiences.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you, family, for joining us, and support members for Amelia. That was a great honor that we don't always get all the time. So that was super fun. Appreciate that. Next, we have Executive Director of Business and Finance, Sean Fitzgerald, will walk us through a presentation on our minimum fund balance, and through conversations with the Board Budget Committee, as well as some candid remarks here at the board meetings, we have discussed the idea of looking at our minimum fund balance for annual sustainability and long-range financial stability as well. So Sean, our in-house expert, will walk us through it. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Sean, you always have tough acts to follow.
I do.
I feel like you always get stuck last, and then you're like,
I know. Or
here
it's
I am.
just laying it. This is the main event, and then I follow the main event.
If you've snuck in weightlifting in here, I'll be surprised.
Yeah. Then everyone clears out. All right. Well, thank you, President Jackson, members of the board, Dr. Kalahar. It's great to be here tonight. I'm going to walk you through our minimum fund balance. So purpose and goals of the minimum fund balance provide sufficient cash flow for daily financial needs, secure and maintain investment grade bond ratings, offset significant economic downturns or revenue shortfalls, and provide funds for unforeseen expenditures related to emergencies. Some of the risks that are both current and ongoing or foreseen for the district specifically. You're no stranger to any of these bullet points, but enrollment decline, actual and projected, local effort assistance, which is additional state funding we receive in lieu from the state in lieu of not going out for a max levy. This fluctuates annually based on assessed value and enrollment. Increasing inflationary costs continue to outpace state funding. List insurance as an example, but it also pertains to other material supplies and operating costs, and also salaries and benefits. Federal funding uncertainty for the last few months. There's been a lot of anxiety, concern about what federal programs may be cut or continued. So we're paying close attention to that, and also how that would directly impact the school district as well. The state budget shortfall, the legislative session just wrapped up this last month. Governor Ferguson this last week signed the budget. In order to close the budget shortfall, there was raising about $9 billion in new taxes. And we also had a shortfall ranging from both $7 billion up to $16 billion. So whether the new budget, the proposed tax increases, how will this address the shortfall or for future years? It's something we have to kind of remain vigilant year to year. Maintenance and operations, both preventative and emergency maintenance projects and costs arise throughout the school year. And then compliance with unfunded mandates, such as our Clean Energy Act. So ending fund balance. So this is a graph of the current and prior 3 school years, showing how our fund balance fluctuates throughout the year. So we see our highest revenue activity in October, April, July, and August. October and April is when the district receives revenue from local property taxes, from our EP&O levy. And then July and August are also our highest revenue months. This is where we receive most of our state apportionment revenue at the end of the year. Between October and April, you can see a sharp decline, and usually March is kind of our trough for ending fund balance. And basically, we're not seeing what we're seeing here is where the district relies on its fund balance reserves to get us through to maintain daily operations. So you see the gradually decrease between October and bottoming out in March before increasing back in April. And so we really have to pay close attention, making sure during this time that we have sufficient fund balance reserves to maintain daily operations and also any unforeseen circumstances that may arise. One of the bills that came up during the legislative session, House Bill 2050, was a proposed apportionment shift for our state funding. So basically, the state was looking at saving, quote unquote, saving $400 million during the current fiscal year by shifting the distribution from the current fiscal year to the next fiscal year. So although it may look like it was savings as a result at the state level, really it would put greater reliance on fund balance reserves for the district. So shifting 2.5% in the spring, February, March, and April would be sent to August. I see slide 7, I mean the previous slide, but it would be a greater reliance on fund balance reserves between October and April. And then, however, at the 11th hour, the legislature struck this language from the bill. So therefore, the current model on the left-hand side remains in place. However, it does raise the question is like, will we see this again in the next legislative session? There was really no further discussion why it was struck, but it did make it to the very end of the legislative session. And so it's something we have to be mindful of in future years. So going back to our current policy, our current minimum fund balance is 5% of total budgeted expenditures. And so we can see here on the right-hand side what those kind of percentages and how much the amount would make up based on our budget. So 5% right now would not cover our average monthly expenditures. So as of March of 2025, that would be about $10.7 million. And so if you look on the right-hand side, 10.7 is roughly 8% of our minimum fund balance. Again, sufficient reserves are needed to cover district expenditures and mitigate risks, especially between October and April. Healthy and stable fund balance reserves play a factor in the district's credit worthiness. If you may recall, during last year, we were doing our bond refinancing, and Moody's was evaluating our credit rating. And one of the biggest factors they're looking at is how stable our fund balance reserves are, especially in light of declining enrollment. The other factor is the district cannot rely on the restricted fund balance. So what we're focused on here is our unrestricted fund balance reserves. And why I say that is because restricted fund balance means it's limited to, it can only be spent on certain things such as federal grants or, specific programs like our skills center. Those reserves are specifically allocated to specific areas. And so if we want to maintain, if we're trying to address revenue shortfalls or unanticipated expenditures, we can't look to those other reserves. We have to focus on our unrestricted areas. And so on the right-hand side, we have our 5%, which is our district policy. Then we move up again, 8% is our average monthly expenditures. That's also what Eastmont School District has as their current policy. Moody's, based on discussion with other school districts, I've heard 10.5%. And then finally you get to the SAO or the State Auditor's Office or the GFOA, the Government Financial Officers Association, and they're recommending up to 60 days of reserves, which would come out to be about 16% of a minimum fund balance. So moving on to any questions. I mean, right now we're kind of discussing what our minimum fund balance looks like, where it's currently at, what other school districts are doing, what other institutions are recommending. And then during our next board meeting on June 3rd, the district will make a recommendation about the future of the minimum fund balance and lead to board discussion and action.
So I guess I have a question. Like 8% sounds great, but it seems like we don't have like $4 million lying around. So, is there a plan for, do we build this into the budget as part of, some amount monthly is going toward raising the minimum fund balance? Or, is there some kind of strategy for increasing this if we want, knowing that our monthly expenditures are 8% and we're not there,
Mm-hmm.
how do we grow that?
So right now, it's like we have, if we looked at our overall fund balance reserves, let's go back here. Right now we're in March, so we're our lowest part of the school year. So this is going to go, once we get our April financials, we'll see our fund balance reserves go back up. So by the end of the year, we'll be in a stronger position. But one of the things we just look at is it's part of the budget plan. And when just compiling our budget and seeing what reserves we can just set aside throughout the school year. But that would start and be part of our budget discussions as we go into June. And basically, we just build up our reserves by once we know what our balance is, where we want to go with it, we set that amount aside, and then we kind of evaluate the budget as a whole and how that works.
But presumably some of that's coming from general fund dollars. So like if hypothetically Orchard's AC stopped working, hypothetically.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, did you get the email today? Yeah, all right. That's coming from that same bucket, right? Of like money that we would potentially set aside to increase the fund balance would also go toward whatever emergency thing
It
we
would
have
be
to deal
there
with.
to address those types of emergencies.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
And just in knowing that all of this has to be a gradual iterative process based on our budget conversations throughout the school year. We definitely can't make the light year jump to 8% in 1 year, but we could look at a multiple year process, and that's most likely what the district recommendation would be like next week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. It would be great to see, ideally, if you ask me, I'm conservative. I would say 16% would be great. But that could also be, okay, I would be okay with 10.5, but 8 would be okay. I guess 8 would be okay. But what does that look like for us, the incremental growth, and what can we budget to get to that, whatever it is that the board decides? I would like to see more of a plan as to what it looks like.
Certainly.
Yeah, because we're not going to go from 5% to 8% in 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's crucial that we get there at a very at a faster rate. And this all came to light with, we saw the example of how having a healthier reserve across the river with East Mall was able to save
Mm-hmm.
people's jobs.
Mhm.
And to be in that position would be, it's still, even at 16%, it's a little bit scary that that's
Mhm.
only 2 months worth of reserve. But if we can at least be healthy where we could be saving the potential of saving jobs, or have, an emergency, like a potential AC outage at Orchard.
Mhm.
Hypothetically, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's what we talked about in the budget committee is I think we're generally supportive of the idea of moving the fund balance up, but it's hard to, jump as far as we need quickly, because we certainly don't want to do it to sacrifice programs or staff or anything. So it's hard to intentionally save when we've needed so much money for operations and whatnot. So yeah, I would like to see the policy, how it is proposed to build up, and that it's kind of a scoop of available savings versus we are intentionally cutting things to make sure we put this money away, because I think that would be tough for the public to understand.
Mhm.
And the flip side of it being, if enrollment continues to decline and maybe operating expenses get less, then we don't need as much to buffer that, but that's not the ideal situation. I think costs are going to keep going up and whatnot. So, but I do support moving, increasing the fund balance, but so long as we can do it, tiered and responsibly and kind of taking from available savings versus intentionally saying we're going to cut something or short something so that we can build this faster.
Mhm.
Are any of these funds tied into investment accounts?
I would think a lot of our money, since it gets invested in the local government investment pool, so it is building on interest. So it's part of the investment pool, but at the same time, it is available and unrestricted.
I think that's what was interesting about the state's proposal originally, was part of the reason they wanted to pull the money or do the expenditures the way they did, or the apportionments the way they did, is so that they could make the money on the investment pool. And we have less, just because of how the money, correct me if I'm wrong, how the money comes to us. We don't get as much opportunity to build investment based on what's in our accounts. And that was likely to be shorted even further. But I think since they didn't do that, we still benefit a little bit.
No, that's correct. The longer the state could hold on to the money, the more interest income they could build off of it. Yeah.
Just one quick question. I assume that what we're going to see is a proposal to increase our minimum fund balance this time with a plan for how we could achieve a higher percentage later.
Correct.
That the direction we're going? Yeah. Okay.
Correct. Yes. No, I think during the June 3rd meeting, I mean, this was kind of give you some background, things to mull over. And then during the June 3rd meeting, we'll share proposals, what these percentages would look like, what this would look like as part of our budget, just to assist in the decision making. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
No weightlifting, but still a good presentation.
Yes.
It is.
It is, it's exciting. I
Billions of dollars is exciting.
Yes.
mean, it's like building your savings account.
I like my children.
Okay. We'll go ahead. Thank you, Sean. We'll move into the superintendent's report. Layla did a great job describing the West Side silent auction and spaghetti feed, and I did get to walk away with some great artwork. This is the second year they had a live auction on student and staff artwork, so that was really fun. Also Tech Center update for the Wenatchee Valley Technical Skills Center project. The project management team and the school district are working our way through the qualifications process. We've screened all of our applicants, which we had plenty of applicants, which is great. We have held interviews on the top 4 choices, and we have a few pieces left to accomplish before awarding the project and bringing a contract to the board, which will land on our June 24th board meeting. So we're excited about that. We'll be bringing on a partner team of a contracting firm and design team for that progressive design project. So we're really excited about that. Also, migrant end of the year celebrations. I was fortunate enough to be able to welcome all of our families, students, and staff to the migrant end of the year award celebration. I was able to shake hands with each of our students, which was super fun because there was, I mean, kindergarten through 12th graders. They were there and ready to shake hands, and I was probably big and scary to some of those kids, but it was great because it was just a fun lineup. Huge evening of celebration and momentous joy. I loved just being able to personally congratulate each student along the way, so it was very cool. Let's see. In our phone-free WSD, the process that we've been taking, leading us to some phone-free Wenatchee School District decision-making, began last year in August with the board workshop where we all participated in some conversations around cell phones and understanding some of the health impacts and some of the negative research that is coming on social media. Then the board received some research on policies from around the state. We also had a community survey that went out in the fall to our students, our staff, and our parents. Most recently, we had 3 focus group meetings with parents and student representatives. And then we hosted a community evening last week to share some of this information with our stakeholders. Unfortunately, there was also a playoff soccer game that night. So we had a smaller turnout of our community meeting. Board member Mark was there, so thank you for being there as well. We had some other parents and families, and we had a great evening and a great discussion. Mr. Anderson and I plan on creating a video of that presentation so that we can share that out with the greater school community. And our next step is to finalize the policy and procedure with the board policy committee. So Julie and Maria both received an email today that had some updates on the policy and procedure. We hope to have, We hope to have first read on June 3rd and second read on June 24th. So just giving an update on that process, which has been actually been a great process. Avid graduation was a few weeks ago as well. What an inspirational evening filled with hope and pride. Our Avid teachers have prepared their students well to take on the challenges and the rigor of advanced placement high school and college classes. In addition, these students have mastered the art of college applications, FAFSAs, WAFSAs, and scholarship writing. Just the list of each student on which colleges they've been accepted to and the amazing amount of scholarship dollars. I mean, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's crazy. So we thank those teachers for keeping an eye on the Avid Prize and continuing to shape the next generation of scholars striving to realize their full potential. And I love the tradition of each student handing the rose to someone special in their family at the end. So they present a little bit about themselves and then they give their rose. I would say 95% went to moms in the audience, but there were siblings and dads and families and grandpas, and it was just very touching. And it was a great night. So just fortunate and happy to be part of many of these end of the year celebrations and more to come soon. So thank you.
Thank you, Corey. Now we have board communications. Julie, let's start with you.
I don't have much. I'm saving my voice, but I'll just say congratulations to the boys soccer team for moving on to the state semifinals. And they will be playing Friday. And you can catch it on NFHS if you can't make the Rooter bus to get there.
Mark.
May 15th was the Apple Awards, and we witnessed Abby Kimmel, senior this year, take home the Best Supporting Actress. So that was exciting. And I attended the May 20th Phones Free School event. And today, as I'm trying to catch up on getting to know the district, I met with Jeff Jager at Mission View, Jen Devereaux at Westside, Craig Allen at Foothills, and Sakara Inez at Newberry. And so trying to get my feet underneath me. It was exciting to see kids and schools doing what they do best. I actually texted my wife and I was like, it went long and I'm so excited. So it's great.
Yeah, I attended the spaghetti feed was it 2 weeks ago? Yeah. That always is a great event. I too walked out with some cool silent auction and some artwork. I just have to say I got a pet portrait package, and yeah, I did. Yeah, that was pretty exciting. I was so excited that I got that. I also had the opportunity to interview with the student, and I was digging through my phone to try to identify what class she was doing her project for. Do you recall? AP Geography? Okay. It was Vivian Mata who we talked a little bit about the implications of the failed bond that we had a while ago, and how we can move forward and improve what was done last time. So that was eye-opening and actually rather sad because it's been a while, and we're still not where we need to be to serve our students, and talking about the inadequate learning environment that kids have when there is a failure with our HVAC systems, or you're in a classroom when there's no windows. So that was, I'm not on the facilities committee, so I'm not quite engaged but talking to students about it, and students that could have been in a new building is a little bit gut wrenching. And then this week we'll be supporting the Icicle Creek Center for the Arts. They're having the benefits bash, and Dr. Eddie Cortez reached out with the invitation they are a big supporter of our music programs here in our school district. So if you can, it's in Leavenworth, attend that. That's on Thursday. And it's outdoors. Great weather. What else? I think that is it. Yep, that was it for me.
You guys did a great job with those board comments. I have just wanted to say, I know we're wrapping up standardized testing. So everyone, we made it through. Good job. I know that there were a lot of stressed students and a lot of stressed staff. So nice work to everyone for finishing up that. And other than that, I think we got it. Meeting's adjourned.